In our previous demonstration, I've showed you how easy it is to build a simple RSS newsfeed reader in Altova MobileTogether Designer. Now we want to try to extend this a little bit to support additional news sources. Obviously, many different news publications on the web are providing RSS feeds, and so we want to extend our newsreader application to support different news sources. How will we go about doing that? Well, the first item obviously is that we need to add a little combo box here on top where we can select the different news sources that we want to be able to show here. So we're going to drop in the combo box up here on the right. And then we also want to perhaps remember what news sources the user has previously selected. And we can do that here on the right on the page sources. There's a persistent tree which is stored on each device. So it's particular to one client and only one client. So we can add a child element here that will be now available for this particular mobile solution for this particular user. And we're going to call this here the newsfeed element. It's probably also a good idea to have a default value for that. So here where we've previously associated our HTTP request only with the New York Times, we're going to copy that string here and seed that in here as the default value when there's nothing else provided. So we'll start with the New York Times as the default. We're going to connect this newsfeed element here with the new combo box that we just inserted so that the user can change the value of this element by selecting a different value in the combo box. And then we obviously want to provide different choices in the combo box. So we'll start out here. In this particular case, we want to show visible entries that are nicely human readable, and behind that we want to actually have the path to the RSS feed. So we'll start here. Our first entry is going to be the New York Times, and we still have in our clipboard the RSS for that. Next we're going to pick, I don't know, let's start with CNN. I can switch to the browser, go to my CNN page and pick this top stories feed here. That looks pretty good. So we're going to put that in here. We'll add another row for, let's say, the Wall Street Journal. And we will grab an RSS feed here on world news from the Wall Street Journal. And last but not least, let's add a feed of business news from Reuters. And we can again grab that very quickly here from the business feed that Reuters is providing. Okay. That should give you the rough idea of what we want to do. Obviously, those values can also be nicely sorted in alphabetical order. We click on OK. Now we have a combo box with a couple of values. Behind it, we have an XML element that is persistently remembered on the client which newsfeed was last selected. All we have to do now is modify this HTTP request here to actually use the value of that XML element, and we do that by modifying the HTTP request settings here, and instead of a fixed value for the URL, we click on our XPath button and simply remove this and double click on our element newsfeed in our persistent tree. And now this XPath expression will be evaluated to provide the URL for the request. So let's save this real quick and give it a try. If we go into the simulator, our default source is the New York Times, because that's what we had initially selected as the default value. If I now click here to go to CNN, we get a different selection in the menu, we get a different change here in the news feed, but our news items have not changed. Why is that? Obviously, we have to add a little action here. So we right click on the combo box and give it a control action on finish editing, and the control action will simply be that we need to reload our HTTP page source here, which contains the actual news feed. So whenever the combo box changes, we want to reload all the XML items. Let's do that. Again, now we have CNN news feed items here. We can switch to the New York Times. We have New York Times news feed items here, and we can go to Reuters, and we'll see Reuters items here. So there you have it, a news feed reader where you can change different news sources.